Good, good. All right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being brave enough to brave the rain. So today I have a pretty short presentation, and we have a demo. My co-presenter, unfortunately, could not make it, so you will only see his picture and hear his voice. He got stuck in San Francisco because of the weather. Little bit of background on myself. I'm part of the product marketing at TIBCO. Actually, I have a technical background. I used to be a software engineer, work in different company, small ones, but bigger ones like IBM as well. Joined TIBCO about 6 months ago, actually. And truly, one of the reasons I joined was because of this product that we're going to talk about today. So there's a lot of interesting concept, a lot of innovation. TIBCO wanted someone to run with it, so very happy to be on board. Raphael, you want to introduce yourself?
Just briefly, yes, I'm from the engineering group, and I'm basically helping our customers using our technology and also giving engineering feedback from the field. So very interested also in the feedback in the audience, and we'll see after the demos. I'm pretty sure we'll have some reactions from the audience, I hope.
Okay. So without further ado, we just have like 3 quick points we wanna cover, and we'll obviously do a demonstration. I actually start the demonstration on my end, and then maybe Raphael will pick it up and cover some additional areas. First off, I just wanted to start connecting the dots because the product we're going to talk about fits a market domain, fits a paradigm that's called LowCode. So you may have heard about it, you may have not heard about it, but I like to level set how we're thinking about it and how we come to address this thing. So it all sort of fits within a digital transformation paradigm. Okay, I know this is more of a business slide, but essentially digital transformation is top of the agenda for a number of C-level executives. The leaders definitely have a great edge versus the laggards. What you see, those numbers, the 5x revenue growth, the 8x is actually the gap, a pretty wide gap between the leaders and the laggard. All that to say that digital leadership, is very rewarding. Digital transformation has to be done. But when we look at what has to be done, it has to do with managing customer experiences. It has to do with optimizing operations. And I know someone is here from operations of a large corporation. It has to do with the innovative product. At the end of the day, behind the scene are applications. There's a need for new apps. There's a need for updated applications. And when we look at applications today in the world we evolve in, there are few things happening. So first off, on the left, actually, would you mind making it full screen, maybe here for viewers? And thank you. So a few things are happening. First off, as you know, you're sitting in IT. The demand from the business are relentless. They just keep coming and coming at you faster. It's becoming harder and harder to keep up to the pace of the business, the requirements coming from them. Number two is you guys are already very much entrenched, and maybe you're dealing with a backlog, and the backlog may be very hard to manage and get your arms around. Last but not least, all that is pointing to potentially a need for a new approach in app development. So I know there's DevOps, I know there's a lot of tools out there, but the paradigm of low-code is trying to help with this rapid development approach, and we're going to see how. Now, at the same time, we have some people in companies that we call citizen developer. I am actually one of them, although I used to be a real developer, but now I call myself a citizen developer. These are people that may actually not have a programming background, but they have logical thinking. Maybe they know about Excel, they know about maybe SQL and databases. And they are usually entrenched in the business departments. And they are what I call problem solvers. And these are the people that want to sometimes have a better tool to go about solving some gaps that they see in the application. Are they going to want to develop, a brand new end-to-end process, end-to-end system from scratch? No. we're talking about applications that fill gaps. Let me give you an example at TIBCO. We actually use this product internally. One of the gaps we have is in finance, for instance, where we have people doing timesheets in workdays, and we sort of need some kind of approval and data transfer into Oracle eBusiness. Okay, those things have to be done manually today. Okay, the systems are there, they're maintained by IT, but it's sort of this data transfer and some level of approval that need to occur. And that's an example of a gap, I would say, that could be, a purpose-built app. So think about it as equipping those people to fill in the gaps within the company while still have the IT control. Okay, it is not, and I will talk about that right after, it is not a us IT versus them business. It is empowering them with the right tools so that things are not breakable and enterprise grade, and enough governance from you guys, to help safeguard the data and your processes. But these people are there, and regardless, you don't want them to procure a system behind you. You don't want the shadow IT. You want to empower them, but with the right tool, with the sort of safe place for them to go about developing those apps. And I will talk about that right after. So when we look at LowCode, it pretty much fills the gap that we see here. So I'm going fast, but if you look at different approaches that have been undertaken, obviously we all know the software packages and some custom development on top to extend them and try to have some custom fit behavior. We all know about SaaS application. A lot of them are not that configurable, or at least as configurable as can be. So when you look at the spectrum of need for speed and need for customization, the LowCode is pretty much trying to fill this gap. Okay, this gap where you have high speed, of development, very quick to put together an application. I will show that to you. And at the same time, the application is purpose built. Again, back to my application example. Another one we did in marketing is actually a travel approval. Okay, travel approval, simple app. I did it in like a matter of an hour. It's now deployed and it avoids having out of sync situation, files and Excel spreadsheets, consolidated approval. We have one system of truth, and that does the approval for us. So that's an app developed by me in hours, and it's custom fit. It has the data attributes we care about, and it just behaves the way I intended for it to behave. So LowCode is this approach that we see on the left. It's a market that's tracked by analysts. It's not something that TIBCO has coined. It sits at a convergence of those things. So we talk about if you want to be a digital leader and lead digital transformation, you're going to need applications. You're going to need new ways to go about developing some of those apps. I'm not saying every app. I'm saying some of those apps. At the same time, you have those citizen developers that are emerging and are starting to hear about those tools. Okay, you have the need for speed and the need for differentiation. And when you combine them all, LowCode is actually a good approach that sits at the convergence of those driving elements. Now, these are statistics from Gartner. I know the numbers are pretty high and sort of in your face, but this is the reality. If you don't look at it, basically, you're going to miss a boat. Okay, so the boat or the train has left the station. It's really about when to start embracing it. And obviously, the earlier you jump on the bandwagon, the better. There starts to be more and more customer, more and more success stories out there. So it starts to be a proven approach. And I believe the time to look at it is pretty much now. So what are we looking at? Well, from a TIBCO standpoint, we rolled out the offering back in June. The name is TIBCO Cloud Live Apps. There's a meaning behind the name. So you see the TIBCO Cloud name. So it sits on the TIBCO Cloud. I'll talk about that after the demonstration. It's pretty much our own sort of domain infrastructure that we've built on the cloud to start breaking down the silos between the TIBCO product. We're now talking about capability. And I will show you in the demo the way we want to project this is if you want an app with analytics, you're going to have some Spotfire capability and other analytical capability available soon. Actually, we're going to make some announcement in San Diego. You drag and drop in the environment and you have some analytical capabilities in the app. You want integration capabilities? Same thing. You drag and drop and it's available to you. So it's pretty much an app composer that we're talking about. And the underlying building blocks are going to be all those technology that we've had for a while, but are going to make their way into a single platform that we call TIBCO Cloud. Okay, so Live App is the domain that will allow you to compose those applications together. And it's what we call a low-code approach, because you're going to see, even myself, I'm a bit rusty. I can do something pretty quickly right in front of your eyes. Now, the approach again is to move away from the shadow IT and to move towards something that you in IT can control. So you have the right safeguard on who can deploy an app and who can version control, lifecycle management. You have some of those capabilities that are built in. So it's not going to be the Wild West, on day one, where anyone can do an app and deploy it and scale it, to 100,000 of users. Yes, that can be done, but we can put the right safeguard and the right control around it. So that's why we talk about an IT facilitated approach, trying to harness the energy of those people who want to build apps, but having the right safeguard. And essentially, you want to empower these guys so that then you can do app at speed. And the apps, a lot of apps that we see today, a lot of customers really want to tackle some of the customer-facing engagement. For instance, right now we're talking with an insurance company. You may think that, claim processing, we have done everything, but there's still some things about onboarding, for instance, some repair shop, by sending some insurance agent on the field and doing that on the go. We're discussing about this kind of application. So although claim processing has been done forever and even extended to mobile, there are still apps and gaps that we see out there that we can fill. So with that, let me actually move to the demonstration. So I will start, and then Raphael may take it over. So here we go. Let me move here. So I'm pretty new at TIBCO, but I was told it was quite innovative for us to let you, even tonight, go to the website, register for the account. You don't need any approval. You're going to have access to the product right away. Okay, so we don't want to stand between you and the product. You can sign up for a free trial. It's going to be 30 days. We're going to let you play with it again right away. So here, I'm going to log onto my account. It's already pre-configured. And as I log on, I have access. So this is the concept of TIBCO Cloud again. I'm logging in more the technical interface, but we have two domains today. We have Live Apps, which is the domain to help me build those applications. And we have integration, which is a way for Live App to connect to any cloud-based, on-premise, even IoT device. We have a demo showing you how you can connect this app to an air conditioner, running a Raspberry Pi with a temperature sensor. Okay. In San Diego next week, we're going to announce more domains. So you're going to have a couple of new boxes, making their way over here. And again, these are going to be like the new palette or the extended palette to build the app. But for now, I'm just going to go into Live Apps. I'm going to launch it, and I'm going to actually build something from scratch. So the point of this environment is to really guide you. This is a product that has no user manual. All the help is contextual. You have lots of video embedded. But we don't want you to read on the side to learn about the product. You learn by doing, essentially. So let me build an app. That's really the starting point. You can see there are a number of examples, sort of an example library here. But what I will do is I will start with what you can call the wizard, which is pretty much taking you through the different steps to build the skeleton of an application. So I talked about the travel approval. And I'm going to build a simple travel approval app right in front of you. So at this point, I'm being asked to describe the different states of travel approval. So behind the scene, what we have is we have a very deep heritage in case management, in process management. So we embedded some of that into the product. But conceptually, for a business person who thinks about data, okay, I'm thinking about a travel approval. Okay, so what are my different states? Well, there's a first state, which is the travel approval has been submitted. There's the second state, maybe, where it's approved. and a third state where it's rejected. Let's start simple. This is something you can revisit later, but it's just a concept, right? You're moving a travel approval through different stages. And initially, as I submit the data, I want it to be in submitted state. Pretty easy. There's a concept of task or data. Well, sorry, first there's a concept of data. So what am I going to submit? So think about it as a web form. I want to submit a travel approval. So there is employee name. There's something maybe which is called the travel purpose. There's maybe a start date, cost, and let's put a comment. Again, same thing. This is something we can adapt. We can adjust, but let's just start with this simple model over here. There's the concept of task. I will come back to that. And here there's the concept of action. So I have my travel approval. It has different data attributes. I have different state. What can I do? Well, when I receive it, I can either approve it or reject it. Okay, so let's again start with something simple. So approve and reject are the two basic action I'm going to be able to do. And now contextually, the system asks me for a little bit more information. So when am I allowed to do the approve action? Well, when the travel approval is submitted, and once I press and I perform the approve action, it's going to be approved. All right, so far it's pretty straightforward. And the reject action, it's going to be in state submitted. And after I perform this rejection, then it's going to be in state rejected. And at this point, I have a skeleton of an app that is built for me. I'm going to come back to it in a second, but right away, I can move into test mode and look at the behavior of the app, which is what we want to do here. So at this point, it's a pretty rudimentary interface. I have an employee name, purpose. I could even put vacation, start date. I can put today. Cost. I can put $1,000. Create a case or create a data entry, and I can put another one. Test 2, business purpose. Tomorrow cost $500, and submit it. And at this point, what I have, it's a live application that starts to see data coming in. So I have two pieces of data. I've created sort of two requests. I can look at the detail. When I look at the detail, I have where I'm at in terms of the process flow. You see two buttons here. They are your actions that I was talking about. So approve and reject, right? And if I press approve, I can have an opportunity to change the data. I approve this travel. Just make a quick comment. Press submit. And then the application is automatically moved in stage approved. There is a log that you can see on the right-hand side. I can upload document. I can do all kinds of detailed audits. You can see here it's a more technical audit, I would say, or more fine-grained audit. These are the major milestone, but the application is live already. It's live over the cloud. And then I can go back, I can close this one. I can look at this second one over here. And then I can say reject on this one, and I can say travel is rejected. I can press submit, and instead of going to approve, it's going to be rejected. Okay, so fairly simple, but I have a live application with a fairly rudimentary state model, and I can already start playing with it. So now the beauty is you can go back, from test mode and start enhancing the app, which is exactly what we want people to do. So there are different elements, behind the scene, behind the application. There's the data model that we're going to actually look at right now. There's what we call creators. So this is the process model with the different state. And then actions are the little buttons you see, are the little things I can do. So let's start with the data model and sort of enhancing that a little bit. So employee name, I'm kind of fine with that. Purpose, what I can do is I can still leave it as a text, but what I can do is I can build a list of pre-filled values. Okay, I can say it's for a trade show, it's for a business meeting, it's for training, for instance. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with that for now. Start date. Let's go here. Obviously, this is a date. Okay, so I can choose data types, define all kinds of constraints, whether the data is optional or required. So I'm going to make this required. Actually, I'm going to make this one required too. Employee name is going to be required. Cost is required. Comment, I can leave that optional. Back to my date. I can say I'm only going to allow for date in the future. So again, we have all kinds of goodies built in here. The cost is obviously not a text; it's a number, and I can also define restriction. Minimum value is $0, maximum, let's say 5,000, and I may add a dollar prefix. Comment, maybe 50 character is not enough. I'm going to put 500, and maybe at this stage I'm happy with it. I'm happy with my enhancement. What I can do is I can go back in test mode and see how this would look like. So let's do that. And right away, again, the app is sort of live in its own container, in its own environment. And I can see the form has somewhat be a little bit updated. So first, it's kind of small, but you see some of the fields are required now. So I need to fill this value. The purpose, again, this is my list I was telling you about. So I can put it's a business meeting. Start date. I now have a date chooser. I can say it's next week. Cost. I try to enter. Here we go. I can put some numerical value. Comment. I don't need to put anything. I press the submit button. Here we go, and I can go to the details. And now I can see again the same thing with the approval and reject. So at least the front end, the data piece has been improved, and I'm happy about that. So one thing I can do is maybe play a little more with the approve and rejection action. So I'm going to show you what we can do here. So here I'm going to go down to the action model and enhance them a little bit. There are many different things that you can do, but we're going to stick to a couple of simple things. Maybe first we're going to just specify who can do those actions, who in the company can do those actions. So you have access actually to groups of users. I've predefined some groups, but they can be of your own definition. And I'm going to say only the people in TIBCO Marketing Travel Approval team are going to have access to this capability here. And maybe here I'm happy with that. Now, once I've done this, maybe one of the things I want to do is actually send an email as follow-up. Say, hey, your travel approval has been granted. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the concept of task. And the task can be of different nature. You can say, oh, it's an empty space in the canvas. You can schedule a task for someone. You can calculate data values. You can share data with company services. So here, this is where you are able, through the integration capability, to pull in data from your system or push data back in your system. Should I want to pull a identifier from the travel system once the travel is approved, I could do a dynamic call, through a service, and I can connect the service here through drag and drop. Actually, Raphael can show maybe that to you right after in a little bit of a different context, but we can do that here. I'm going to do something fairly simple. I'm going to send an email. So send confirmation email. And I can go to the email designer, and I'm going to send it to the person who has submitted the travel approval. I'm going to call it from the travel office. The subject is good news, travel on. I can add the date travel and start date. So you can dynamically, create some placeholder has been approved. And then I can say, here we go, you can travel, and add a link, for instance, to the case. Okay, so this is pretty much in a point-and-click fashion. I've assembled this email, and pretty much good here. I can come back over here, draw the line, sort of sequence the task. So this task will be performed right after I push the approve button, and I'm pretty much done here. And for the other one, for the reject, maybe I just don't send email for now. I just go about only allowing people in the travel department to approve this. So I'm gonna again go back to the group. I'm not gonna create a group. Sorry, I'm just gonna go here and select these people, and here we go. They are the only one who can perform this action. Okay, so at this stage, let's test the application again. Let's see what happens. And I'm back over here. Go back to my form. Test employee purpose. I'm gonna say the first one is a trade show. I'm gonna do it at this date, and it's $500, and then I'm going to create another one, and here it's going to be training, a different start date, and $5,000. I'm going to submit it. Okay, so I have my two cases that are there. I can introspect and look at what's happening. So this is the first one. I'm just going to approve it. One other thing I should have done actually is when you do approve over here, you have access to the data. I can specify what are the data fields that I have access to. So I could have only made command accessible. But I forgot to do that. Good news, you are approved. Okay, and I'm going to submit it. And the case is now in the approved state. So this is what I was expecting. Again, I can upload document and do a number of things. Let me go back here. I'm going to move to this other. Oops, that was the first one. Sorry. I'm going to move to the test 2. And this one, I'm going to reject it. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is this concept of user profile. You can see as I choose different profile here on the top left, the action button have disappeared, because if you're not part of the travel group approval, you're not going to have access to those actions. So again, those actions are really contextual to the user profile, and you can again create your own business logic over here. And here I'm going to select reject, and then I just submit the answer. Now, if everything, maybe I don't have full access to my email here. Let my email refresh, but I should receive an email, by the way, telling me, okay, the travel approval has been approved, and I can click on the case and reopen it up there. So again, in a few minutes here, I've built the skeleton of an application that actually I've tested several times. And what I can do, I can lock it and really push it towards production. I can do that because I am an administrator. This is a point of handoff that you could put into the product. You can see here I'm ready to publish, so I'm publishing it. Okay, and then here we go. I have my application in production. I can send a link, and it is live, accessible over the internet. Now I can go back to it and decide to change it, and then I would have versioning. I can do upgrades. I can phase the application out, as you can see, withdraw and delete data. I can do a number of things, but all the life cycle has been baked in. But at this point, I have a live application. I can send a URL, there is some elements of business logic. There are user groups. There are decision flow. You can build all kinds of business logic. But it's pretty powerful because I did that, right in front of you in a couple of minutes here. Raphael, you want me to hand it off to you, and you may want to show some maybe more advanced capabilities.
We can see the final portal that the user will see.
Okay. Yeah, let me delegate to you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You're now presenter.
Your yeah, I just wanted so few things I wanted to add on that. I don't know in the audience how many are doing agile methodology.
Mm-hmm.
I hope some are applying that. It's like an extreme agile methodology here, because the first sprint was 3 minutes. So I was checking the time you spent on that. So after 3 minutes, you were able to show something to your colleagues and have feedback. So that's exactly the agile step. And from this feedback, then you can say, okay, I have a few things to modify on my data, I have a few things to modify on my logic, and I have a few things to modify on the authorization about who can do these actions. And then you can do the sprint 2. And basically you applied 3 sprints and you had an final application in 15 minutes. So it's really interesting to see that in terms of extreme agile development. So I just wanted to complete the presentation saying at the end of the day, so when it will be deployed, in terms of the bookmark, you can access, so you can give the Live Apps Case Manager. So this one is already created for you. So any employee can access this with their logins, and they will have this Live Apps Case Manager, I would say, portal. So here we are no more in the design and development. We are just using applications. So I'm not on the same environment as Bruno, but you see, for example, I'm talking about here incidents and different others. So on my side, I've created an application for customer questions, work order, incident. But that's where I will find my new application deployed, and I can search, for example, for a specific one. I'm working on incident. I can check if I have incident on anything here. We know that the business people, they have been educated by Google, so they expect something like a global search, so they can find their case, and you will recognize the application that has been deployed with the different states. So it's a different application. That will be the portal. So people will be able to search for their different cases. They will see also what the different records that they have recently viewed, and if they have some work items. So like one of those work was distributed in the application, you will see also what you have to do. So that's the final UI that will be exposed to the employees at this moment. And Bruno, I think you can take questions from the audience, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can cover.
Okay, so let me ask. So again, we went pretty blazingly fast. Is there anything that you wanna dig in, see? One of the things we didn't show is how you can connect, the app to maybe some kind of data service. Would you like to see that potentially?
Yeah.
Okay. So Raphael, if you could show us how to use some of the TCI data services, that'd be great.
Yes, perfect. And so let's go to my designer. Okay, so I'm back to the designer environment as Bruno showed you. So I can create rapidly a small application for incident report, for example. And on incident report, so it's like a rehearsal. I will just say new and corrected because the closed. The purpose is not to redo everything, so I will create a very, very simple one. And I will say it will be submitted in usage. Okay. So in terms of data, I will just put a description. and I will put a location, for example, of the incident. Okay, and I will show you a few things there. And I don't have a task at this moment to do. And I will create just an action that I can do on this incident, like review. Okay, I can do when it's new. It will be clicked. Right. Okay, so as you say, you create your first application, but let's say that when you create the application, you want the location to be populated. So let's have a look at the location. Location is a simple string. I will probably make it something like an addressee data. The addressee data, I will make it with line 1.
So by the way, one thing that I did not do is, you know, I did stick at the top simple data attributes. Here you can create your own data attributes, okay, and the address data, then you map it up back over here. It's sort of a more of a nested or more advanced data model. You can create your custom data attributes over here.
Exactly. So that's the last option for own type. And you see I can select my type here. Okay, so I'm good with this point. And something also is good to mention, as creating something that IT will call a schema, that I've not used any technical vocabulary here. I don't even know about schema, JSON, XML. I just describe the data as naturally as I can. If I go to this one, now I would like to have the location populated. So I can take those of services, for example. And okay, so I will check the services that I can use. So they share data with my company services. So at this moment, I will get location, and location is about an asset. So let's see what I have here. I can select a service. So that's the service that will be prepared for me by the more, I would say, technology-savvy people. And I get some asset API, retrieve asset information. Perfect. I will select this one. And it has an input and an output. I can check the output. And I've got a response status. I don't care. I have an address, a location, a status. I can put that in my incident report as the line 2, and probably this one is obvious. It will be my location state. This one will be, and I can start to type things, and it will speed up my entry.
So here, so it's going pretty fast, but here we have someone in IT through our web integration, portal has created some web interface from a data standpoint. It could be to a cloud system on-premise, doesn't really matter. Here, dynamically, we have access to this. So you have access to only a subset of services. So there's all kinds of credentials that are done here. And what Raphael is doing is mapping, but it's a mapping in a simple point-and-click fashion of your own data attribute to the data attribute from the service. So that's what it's doing.
Exactly. So, and you see, we can go back. So, for example, I need the notion of my asset ID and type. And that's a good point for the incident report. So I can go back to my data design. And after my description, I probably need my asset identification. And probably also the asset type.
So we were missing 2 data attributes for the service. We just in flight, go back and add them so that now they are available. We can call the service with all the right data.
Exactly. So I have this notion here of an asset for my incident, which is good. And I can go to my locations here. Sorry, the service. Input, and I say the identification is my asset identification, and the type will be the asset type. Okay, output is still mapped, so I'm good. So that means I have I found the service that has been exposed, and once again I've done a mapping without any knowledge of code, because I don't know any coding language. I'm a citizen developer, and I'm just doing mapping with kind of wizard or natural language. So at this moment, you should be able to do that. And as you say, that's my application. Create a new incident report. Get a printer is dead here. It's the printer 1, 2, 3, 4. It's printer. Okay. And I will submit that.
There's a bit of lag.
Yeah,
there's a bit of lag here, so just give it a sec. It's for the system to
come. Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, a lag, sorry.
It's coming.
Excuse me. Yep. So I just created the application, and you see in the case data that I've got information from the location. So I got that from the service. I never typed that, so it went to the service, get the location of this printer, and populated the data. And by the way, you also see that we have a complete audit. So if you go to the business audit, you will see that I have created the incident, but you can check the point where the data has been captured. So, for example, when I capture this data, that's the data that I entered in the form. And later on, there is this get location, and this is the data that is being populated. So we have a complete audit of any data change in the system, which is very good for the business. Just to complete the picture, if you want to see that into the my TIBCO account. So as you said, we have everything into the TIBCO Cloud offering. So if you go to the integration and access the dirty details, but at this moment, I'm no more the person who is creating the application. I'm more somebody with a knowledge of the internal data. And this is, for example, where I will create my services. So I have my asset API. And the asset API is something I've created in this environment. This is not the topic, but once again, it's a very easy way to create some very visual programming language here to create the integration. Okay, so I'm receiving an HTTP message, for example, in this case, replying data, accessing things, and when you see the different connectors, maybe you want to get the data from Salesforce or different other connectors that you can add into the system, and you can easily configure this access at this point. So I think, Bruno, it's what you wanted to cover in terms of how easy it is to add a service into your application.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions you have? So we covered here more of the service component, which is again a two-phase thing. Somebody needs to create this service, mostly somebody in IT involved with APIs and data access, and then the service is made available, and in a point and click you can connect it and call it out, to push data or pull data actually. So that's pretty easy.
And Bruno, I would be also happy to share something that has been deployed just 2 hours ago, because it's a cloud service. Yeah. So we are improving this service, as we have a new development. So now we have the ability to create records with the external API. So, for example, with this capability, I've used a complete different application. So outside Live Apps, where I can, for example, select some effects and ask, for example, replace the temp. So this is an application using Hotfire, for example. But here I will launch the incident process. So the application I've just created in Live Apps. So it's going to the integration and using the brand new TCI connector for Live Apps and creating an incident in Live Apps. So now if I go back to my
So just to give you a little bit more context, so what you saw is the product comes with its own user interface, right? Out of the box, it's just there and exists. We have in our roadmap a number of customization points, to add your own look and feel, your own logos and things of that nature, even mobile interface. So that's going to come up really soon. What we're showing you here is outside of the product, you can actually, here, it's a very different application that Raphael was talking about. We can actually create a case from outside the product, but then the case is inside the product and will be managed with all the screen and all the flows and all the business logic that we talked about. So if you have your own CRM, for instance, as a front end and want to push a button to create, report an issue, this is something that you'll be able to do. And that's what Raphael is showing here. It's from a totally other and different front end. You can push the case information and manage it through its life cycle.
Yep. So it's really expanding the power of those, I would say, simple applications that you're building. Because if you see the business experience as an integrated set of applications, then you can really see the future of, business application ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
A really exciting moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Can you pass me back the ball? I'd like to show a couple of stuff on TIBCO Cloud, and then we can take more questions.
Sure.
So let's see.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the presenter now.
I was reading an article earlier today as they would have it on low-code, no-code, and one of the big concerns was about security.
Yes.
Talking about shadow IT and all that kind of
yes.
stuff. And just wondering if you're going to go into talk more about that tonight.
So yeah, let me finish, but yeah, we can go back in the environment and show you. So the concept of user role, essentially the user role is baked in. And then you saw we have a couple of views. So we have the view that we call the designer, which is where you do your application design. Then you have your view, which we call the case manager, which both of them are, there's the access control, there's different groups. Then within the app itself, I'm not sure you were here, the concept of action, those buttons you can press, they can be dependent on which user group you are from. So that's baked as well. And then who deploys the app, who upgrade the app, who takes the app out of production, back into maybe back into nowhere, back into trash because we're down, is also role-based. So all this sort of lab lifecycle management, for now it's baked into the product, I would say. We are thinking, okay, do we need to provide more hooks for people in IT to add some of the greater DevOps things? We'll see. But I would say right now it's simple enough, but robust that we have all the right granular control to make sure that nothing really breaks here. One thing we didn't show is if the app is unfinished or there's some conflicting business logic, you cannot deploy it. So inherently, you have a consistency checking, going on as you build the app to make sure that the app is complete and the business logic makes sense. Now, on the flip side, indeed, the app could write a record in the CRM, so there's going to need to be some discussion with IT that when I provide you this data service as an IT person, I need to design it in the right way, so that then when you use it, I'm going to be okay with whatever comes in and the right credential will be passed. But you're right. It's from a TIBCO standpoint, I think we have designed it with all the right user roles and models and the hooks that you can start applying the right amount of governance. Is it fully integrated yet with your DevOps, automatically? Not yet, but eventually we'll get there. I would say the approach we've taken, so we're not the first in the market, but the approach we've taken is actually quite unlike TIBCO in the sense that before we wrote any single line of code, we had a user experience team doing their research on what the citizen developer would want to do and can do and those kind of things. So we really stood up, a product from the ground up. There's a lot of knowledge from our process, DNA that's there, but we stood up a product from the ground up based on the user experience, which is kind of a little bit of a first at TIBCO. So the profile right now is a citizen developer. Without sharing trade secrets, we are going to improve that, but we're going to want to go towards more hooks, more configuration point for sort of an IT, not really an IT developer, but more center of excellence kind of paradigm, where the center of excellence will be more on the DevOps and everything will be even more seamless from a DevOps standpoint here. That's where we're heading here. Maybe a longer answer but that's the background of the product actually. Actually, you can see here, the email came through, right? So, but the email is in essence just an example of data service. It's just baked in here. Raphael showed you another one. Now, let me make a quick point on the TIBCO Cloud component, because this is really super cool and super exciting. The reason is exciting is today, so this is where we are. We're based on Amazon Web Services. The yellow boxes are what you see. So not only it's a single environment for you to access things, but it's also from a billing, from turning things on and off, creating account. It's super easy. I mean, you can do that in no time. So the two boxes are what we call the domains. So today we talked about the LowCode, which is the lab app I've showed to you. Integration is what Raphael used to show the integration with backend data services. Where it becomes even more exciting is with, sorry, let me come back to that, with this picture. So next week in San Diego, we are going to announce more boxes. I cannot tell you which one, but you'll know soon enough, okay? This is the vision. So process analytics, mastery with API management, messaging, complex event processing, Spotfire, all these things are on their way to make it to the cloud. I should say to make it into TIBCO Cloud. What that means is not only a lift and shift of Spotfire, for instance, on TIBCO Cloud, it's making sure it's a single pane, and it's making sure that within Live Apps, you can add analytical behavior, or within Spotfire, you can trigger cases. Okay, so when a domain makes its way into the platform, we're really looking at the full synergy. So it's not only, yes, that product is now available there and can scale and do all the kind of things that cloud can do. It's going to be available to the other boxes, as a building block, as a component, which then I can show that to you. So we're moving away again from product, we're moving to sort of capabilities. It is more of a concept here, right? Where, okay, I'm going to build an app and I'm going to use those basic capabilities. Or I want a more complicated app. I'm going to pick and choose my capability, on the fly and assemble those things pretty much very quickly. It's more app composition than app programming at this stage. But all the product, if you really look at the vision, all the product are making their way into this and not making their way solely as, it's a scalable infrastructure. It's sort of a new way to approach some of the app development that are needed out there. So that's where we're heading. Now the cool thing also is being a new guy at TIBCO. I've sort of benefit of doubt. I can go and talk across department. This is something we're using internally. So in the marketing team, we're already using it actually to do some data transfer and data approval between Marketo, Salesforce, and some of our own data warehouses. But there's a number of applications that we are targeting. I talked about our finance application. Human resource is also using it internally. But again, this is something that the way I want you to think about it is, okay, I'm not going to develop, a major app. I'm going to, again, fill the gaps or look at variations. The other flavor we saw is I may have a system underneath, but I want to do a variation of this process or variation in terms of approval and things. So I'm going to plug on it. I'm going to sort of add a special approval track, and I'm going to plug back in at the tail end. It's sort of accommodating for system variation that will take way too long time, even for our own IT in TIBCO, from an SAP standpoint, for instance, just bypassing that. So quick examples here. Yes, question.
actually had a couple. First is when we were building the process flows.
Yes.
Is there an opportunity to create like calculated fields?
Yes.
Like semi-complex logic based on the columns?
Yes. So we didn't show that to you. So Raphael, the question, but the answer is easy.
Yes, I got it.
The question is, so we have in the process, we have a process designer and we have the branching logic. So you have decision point, it's point and click. You have a calculation task. And the calculation task can just be self-contained or fetch value from underlying system. So that is allowed.
I can show that.
Okay. Why don't you go there? So let me give you the ball.
So I'm assuming you can create like an intake form of some type, what you were doing, where first name, last name, email address, whatever, a whole bunch of things, and then from there, after the user submitted that data, then what you can do is create like a calculated field to comb through
yes.
columns names.
Yes.
And yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And we can do, so we can do that. I would say I was thinking about, we just put together a demo for a company in Europe where again, this air conditioner thing I was telling you about, this is real. This is a real thing. And the cool thing is that we can reset the sensor and send data from Live Apps, all the way to the air conditioning to reset the threshold for the temperature alert. So you can do calculation, you can repropagate data back to your system. It's pretty neat what you can do. Raphael, back to you.
Yes, so we just had also one of your case, which was a pick list. So, for example, on-site inspection, and another, so that would be investigation. Just for my case to have some interesting data here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I go back to my case, for example, when I get the location, I may have to go to different places to do different things. So on-site investigation and maybe some other on the phone interview. So I would say on-site inspection, for example. Okay. But let's go to decision point. So I need a decision here, and I will go from this guy. So two things here that I want to show you is that it makes it very clear that I have 1 and 2. So very intuitive way to configure that, for example. So first, if I say 1 and 2, I can refer exactly to this one. So this one is a decision, but once again, the decision will be choose the data. Okay, perfect. I can take, for example, my decision, and it will say, okay, this could be 1 off, and the system will know that I can select on-site inspection because it's a pickup list, so it will be on-site or investigation. So I'm 1, so I should take on-site inspection. And I can close that, but I still have an error here. So if I go to the to-do list, it will tell me that I have a decision point, and I should define with the default, so I can just click there and say, okay.
So that, by the way, that's what I was talking about, that having those errors, first, you're guided to where and what you need to do, and second, you cannot deploy the app if it's inconsistent here. So that's, again, back to the safeguards and the controls. Back to you, Raphael.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what I've done here, is the logic. But we are trying to push that as a much natural language as we can. So collecting the data, taking some decisions, putting some elements, and doing observation. So this is for a decision. And I will put also a calculation, for example. So I want to calculate something. So I can calculate the data value. And you see the type of calculation here. I need to assign a value to something. So, for example, incident report. And let's say that this line is something I can calculate, whatever. It will basically ask me the different functions I can do because it's a string. So you can do character, copy value, lowercase, uppercase, concatenate two text values. It's okay, concatenate maybe
I don't have the first name, but it could be, for example, the line 1 and the line 2. And that's it.
Again.
So basically, I have created a calculate field, and I can read it. So the asset identification will be equal to the concatenation of the incident report line 1 and incident report line 2. Done. So that's the type of things, and that's what we really can call that a no-code approach, because it's basically telling the system in a natural language that is guided by the designer how to map the data, how to take decisions, and so on.
So can you call functions like absolute value or random or like round? Is that part of the platform as well, to where you're writing that calculated field, or even just regular?
Yeah, so we have that means so I don't have an int, so priority, and this one will be a number.
Ask what your purpose is.
So I can go here and maybe compute something on the assign the value to the priority. Okay. So I can count items in the list. I can take a difference in 2 dates. I can divide. I can minus things. I can get the percentage of something. You are looking for random, so I can do random. I can round the number. I can subtract. I can calculate the number of weeks in a date as a number. Yeah, so pretty lot of things I can do that should cover a lot of my business needs.
So
once again, if you,
So what we've seen is, again, there are a number of things that are baked in. If you have some more like complicated stuff, like for instance, for the app I was telling you about the air conditioning, there's some geolocalization and stuff. So then you do a call out to a function that you've deployed, over the cloud.
Yeah.
Get it back. And
that's the point, exactly. So for example, I imagine a business user trying to maybe generate a card number. Oh, that's probably out of his capabilities here. It will probably ask for an external function to calculate something about the specific card numbers generation or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we think that it can do a reasonable number of things with the functions. And once again, if a function is missing and we see that there is a request for that, could be there in 1 week or 2 weeks. It will be deployed on the cloud. It's a service, nothing to install. So the impact will be just to wait for the upgrade of this cloud service.
Yeah, actually, Raphael just said something important. It's our cadence right now is every other week. Okay, every other week we have a refresh on the app, and it's pretty much transparent for you. So if you have case in flight and all those kind of things, it's upgraded transparently for you. But every other week we have an update.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to pepper you with questions.
No, go for it.
The other one is, so I like what you guys are doing. I get it. Like, It reminds me of like Salesforce products where you have administrators that build applications through clicking.
Yeah.
And some light code. What if you wanted to like publish this onto a mobile device, have like an app, like a tile, and then from there you can interact with that?
Yeah.
Does that do that?
So there's two answers. So today, the only way you can access it is through the URL, and it will be mobile friendly. Yeah. What we're working on, and it should come fairly soon, I cannot give you the exact date, but we're talking weeks from now, is actually a mobile app that you can install. But there's sort of two ways to go about it, and we really thought about it hard. There's one way where you can say, okay, you remember the list of apps, and I have as many mobile apps as that, which is not what we want. So we want sort of a mobile app that's sort of the gateway to the universe of apps that you have created. Okay, so we're going to give you that fairly soon, I would say, in a matter of a few weeks. It's going to be a mobile app you download from the App Store. And as you log on, based on your credential, you're going to have access to as many mobile app as you have credential to access and interact with that.
Because I was thinking like you go to the App Store and you've got like business utility type tools, or as I think security came up. It'd be nice if you could just
add to that.
Or,
yes.
Yeah, conference attendees or something, and you
exactly.
go down there. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where we're heading. But again, instead of telling you, let's say you're a company and you have 10 apps you want to deploy, we're going to give you one, and that one will be the gateway to the live app world, if I can say, and give you access to all those apps. But they're going to be, friendly to the mobile device and all those kind of things. So that's how we're going to address it. We've already done that for BPM. We're going to reuse some of the know-how and apply it to the live app world. Question over here, yeah.
Actually, question on fees. Forgive me if it was already asked and answered. I'm curious how different is the live apps from a user interface, a visual user interface with serverless technology that recently have evolved and have been.
So here, well, it's the live app is the app with the behavior, right? So you have the data model, which you can create on the fly. You have the sort of process behavior, right? You have the different actions. So think about it as an app with business logic that goes beyond just the front end interface. You have data persistence. You have all kinds of sort of process, almost a lightweight process backend or less lightweight case management backend that's available for you. So it goes beyond the simple user interface. It helps you build some, I would say, moderate complexity business logic in the backend, call your data services, and it's more of a app composer. That's just the way I like to see it. Every customer I get in touch with, they have all kinds of API and data services. They already exist. For them, it's just a faster way to compose apps or allow some business people to do app composition of things that they could not fathom before.
And as you mentioned, the app designer just stays at the logic level.
Yes.
But they don't need to care about the infrastructure level.
Correct. Right now, we're going to have maybe more knobs, but right now, the fact that it's scalable and all those things is just there. It's just there by standard. One thing, actually, I just remind myself is we have, because we use data and sometimes there's data compliance issue, we have three domains right now. We have one here in the US, we have one in Europe, and one in Australia. We'll have more, as time goes by. But we had some customer in Europe that didn't want the data to be here, and vice versa. So we're going to add more of this. But everything else is transparent from your standpoint, frankly. Yeah. Question over here. Yes.
Quick questions.
Yep.
You mentioned the data model. I mean, is it possible to import or load up a schema from an existing, data model?
So we want to do it, and we want to do it soon. Right now, it's not, but we know it's important, and we're gonna get there.
It's agreement.
Exactly. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Or even from an we're starting to meet some people, and they say, great, I have everything in Excel. Why don't you introspect this Excel file and pick up the value from there? So we're gonna get there soon. It's something
CSV
we know.
Imports,
exactly.
XML imports. Okay.
Exactly. We know we need to get
the
there.
other question is related to what you had asked before.
Yes.
In terms of a little bit more complicated apps, how much of plug and play with like C libraries or Python, functions? I mean, how much of that will be available at some point?
So we can take this one, because remember who is using the application to create this application. So we can remove all the vocabulary of schema, Python, coding. So what we will do probably is encapsulate those capabilities into something that is consumable by the end user we are targeting.
Yeah, so actually, let me show you this slide. So the design principle today is to talk to those guys, right? Those guys with less know-how. So this is what we focus on today, the business developer or the citizen developer. You can see that some of the addition are more towards the COE or the developer. They will come later. Okay, right now, if you want to do some of the things you mentioned, you may want to encapsulate them through the services paradigm. So you bake them behind a service. It's done. It's there. We understand it. For someone in IT, it may sound like a workaround, but the persona, again, is somebody with a bit less programming know-how. But eventually, we'll have more knobs, more capabilities. That's where we want to go. We want to build the whole pyramid here. But the business developer is where we're at today. Okay.
What is COE?
Oh, sorry. So Center of Excellence, kind of your DevOps, your process Center of Excellence. Some kind of centralized IT system, either by department or across the company, that sort of manages the system. Yeah. Okay.
Can you leverage things like maps or anything within the, or is that like on the roadmap?
So we're gonna look at, for us, again back to this picture. We're gonna look back at other domains making their way on the platform. So. Our approach here will be pretty much this. So if it is a Spotfire component and we have the maps, then eventually, yes, you'll be able to drag and drop and have a map if it's Spotfire. That's how we're gonna do it. And for the UI customization, this is something we're considering as well. Sort of have a blank slate. Part of it is TIBCO managed, and part of it are other widgets coming from other places. This is also something we wanna look at.
When you deploy this app, what kind of device it can be run?
So right now it's hosted on the Amazon platform. It's a URL. So we showed you the URL, and it can be run in a mobile browser and a tablet browser, or just computer web browser. Right now it's a web browser interface. But Raphael also showed you that you can have a standalone app. We showed you a monitoring system for oil and gas equipment. And when you push the button, it can create, the data to flow through the backend application. So your UI can be your own as well, even if it's a standalone system. But the built-in UI, it's just a web URL, which on mobile works fine. Okay.
How does TIBCO make itself stand out? The article I mentioned earlier that I was reading about this, they mentioned about 15 different companies.
Yes.
That are in this space.
Yeah.
And so why TIBCO? I mean, compared to some of these other ones. I mean, they mentioned big names like Salesforce.
I know. So I would say, let me show you actually this slide. It comes from a different company, but I think from my standpoint, it really did. They did a good job in sort of thinking about what we can do. So this is again an article I can send to you, but it does a good job. So first off, one of the distinctions is here. We are not the first, but we thought hard enough about the user experience. A number of companies that come to it, they come at it from, I take a development environment, and excuse my French, but I bastardize the environment and I simplify it to be simple enough for a citizen developer. We thought out to a little bit more time here. Number two is this. So as far as integrating with any system, including again those like remote device or things with the TCI domain, the integration domain, I mean we can take on anyone. We believe like integration, robust, secure, all kinds of connector with there. As we showed, we can do, especially with more domains coming in, I mean, we can do some pretty powerful stuff very, very simply. Now, you can say, well, other company can, true, but here we're talking about all the domains from TIBCO coming in, all the analytics, all the predictive stuff, the complex events. And so you're going to have an extended palette very soon where you can build some pretty advanced application. Believe it or not, this one is also a point. We're very aggressive in terms of pricing. And we were told by analysts, wow, and you guys are, okay, you guys seem to be getting it. So again, I'm the new guy. I can make this statement, I don't have, but they told us, you're right, you're aggressive. And last but not least, the platform. For us, this is going to be, I don't want to call it the innovation platform, but it's kind of what's happening. We're lifting, shifting the product there. When they moved there, we were thinking the way the product should be approached and the experience. So there's a lot of potential there.
and I apologize if I missed this, is the apps that are developed on TIBCO, are they only usable in the cloud by your customers, or can they be developed in the cloud and then brought on-prem?
Good question. So for now, they are developed in the cloud and only available in the cloud. Yes.
Okay.
As long as Amazon it's available on those domains, because that's the underlying platform, we're fine. But you're right. There is a cloud component right now that's there and sticky, I would say. We'll see what we do. We even had customer told us, I want to have this, but on my own cloud. So the answer is not possible, but technically it is. Everything is containerized. When we had to deploy to the Australia domain, it was like piece of cake. So we could do it commercially. I don't know.
It's a business model.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different business model. We also have partner. They're like, hey, I want my IP to be there and be able to App Store. Where are you going? So we'll see.
You can't be all things to all.
Exactly. So right now, citizen developer, we want to have the whole spectrum of all capabilities, which is a lot. We've acquired like quite a few companies in the past few months available there. And that will be already a wow effect. Again, next week, our chief technology officer will make a statement. Truly, it is the first time all our capabilities from all our different domains are on the same platform and on the cloud. Mm-hmm. That's a major thing for TIBCO.
We allow developers to create plugins to it. So if I have something that's very simple to consume, but maybe it's using machine learning.
Yes. So if you look at the web integrator that I showed to you, there is a GitHub. There's like tons of contributions. Some people have started to add some really crazy stuff. So yes,
yep.
that thing is going to be.
That's a good part that we should mention is a big part of the TCI part is open source. So the extension, how to create an extension in TCI is open source. So we are welcoming any contribution on the connectors for our TCI, sure.
Yep. So there's a lot of creative stuff that's going to happen. And again, the partners are really starting to jump on the bandwagon. Question, yes?
Yeah, the pricing and licensing. I guess I know depending on enterprise versus smaller commercial shops, I get it. It can vary. But what about just like a person like me? I want to go create an app and I just want to expose it for free and have someone start to input data to it. I want to own that data. How does that work? Like, I'm assuming you want your product to get out there and expand and enable people.
So for the trial, it's baked in. So we have a user-based model where one user, you're there and you can create as many apps as you want. And then we have an app model where it's more about the app and scaling it. So they would say it's like for the user, it's about around the $35 range. So it's a pretty aggressive standpoint.
User, so like if I want to use your service, I pay $35 and I get access. It's basically there's a blank canvas.
Yes.
And then depending on how wildly successful it is, like I'm using social media, I get a bunch of people hitting my app. My data footprint is becoming huge. Like, do you guys call me and go, hey?
For now, we're giving you a free lunch until we figure it out. It's true, actually. Really. So for now, let your creativity be the limit, and we know that we'll add more parameter, but for now we're aggressive. It's free lunch.
When is the mobile coming? You mentioned that.
I don't have the date, but we're talking weeks, not months. So we did it for BPM already, so we sort of know how to do it. We just gotta get it done. So it's it's a few weeks from now.
We used to say that it was a few weeks and then a few weeks from now. It's just a few weeks.
Well, let's put it this way. I thought I could announce it next week at TIBCO Now. There's that one thing that didn't happen. So that's as close as it is pretty much, yeah. So we're talking really soon, but it's not there yet. But I take your point. I'm in marketing. I used to be again in tech sales, so I know, and in dev also, so I know what you're talking about. It's always like, yeah, the next one. Any other questions?
Have you done any benchmarks on performance, high volume applications in terms of real-time transaction processing?
Yeah, so it's the way we looked at it is more in terms of concurrent users, those kind of things. So we tried, but it's not like purely a real-time system per se. The load has been tried in terms of number of concurrent users, tens of thousands, just hitting the system at pretty much at the same time. So that's the peak volume. But otherwise, it's not exactly a pure sense and respond kind of system. Usually a system driven by some kind of user that needs to look at the data at the point in time. But yes, I mean, a simple statement could be scales as well as Amazon, okay? But yeah, truly we've tested it with tens of thousands of users, creating case and moving cases and those kind of things, and it stands there.
Well, what about taking photos? So
yes, so we didn't, yes, so we can, so we have this notion of case, right? And then you have built in the ability to upload documents. And when you'll be on a mobile device, you can attach the photo, yes. So you can attach all kinds of documents, a Word document, a PDF document, or take a photo, a JPEG, and attach it on the fly.
Cool.
Yeah, that's built in with the case management model, I would say. That's part of the audit and the archive.
So you find that your target customer tends to be medium size or larger size?
So right now, so it's pretty new, but right now we have the two, very interesting, we have like two threads going. We have, no offense, more like traditional, larger corporation. And here we're talking to either the existing contacts in IT and dev, and they want to jump on this because they know if they don't, some stuff are going to go behind their back. So that's kind of the philosophy. And then we start to have some people on the business side starting to say, hey, yeah, actually that could help us. So one of the things I'm doing, if you visit the website, every other week I'm rolling out new examples of applications with like the video, the source, everything. So you can really look at how to get things done. So we're going to expand the library really fast, and you're going to have a lot of examples, and that's going to help. Now, to go back to your question, we also have company that would not have talked to TIBCO before, coming to us. One example is a company actually based in US that does title management. They record titles for commercial property and personal property. Do they have IT? Well, maybe they have a system admin that knows Windows at best. But they want to use this product, and this is not a typical customer for TIBCO, but it's cloud. Yeah, it looks fully good. We build a good prototype for them. They played with it. They're happy. We may go forward. So it opens both avenues to us. Yes, it's enterprise grade. It's if you want to do something crazy, complicated, we'll do it. If you want to do something simple and pay a few bucks a month, we can do that as well now.
Cool.
Yeah, open up the aperture a bit. Yeah, and we have like a new kind of sales force that will be dealing with that too. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting shift.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, you're most welcome. I'm glad to be here. And
you have to do your drawing.
oh yes.